It is hard to imagine that there are people out there who won't eat an entire row of cookies, or hear food calling to them in the middle of the night. People who never have to throw their food out to avoid eating it, or pick it out of the garbage in desperation. Binge eating is, of course, only a cover-up for a much bigger issue, the emptiness one feels inside. If one feels empty, the feeling of depression occurs, and so does binge eating. Compulsive eating is eating large amounts of food in a short span of time, while depression, on the other hand, is a serious condition that can affect all aspects of one's life. Binging puts the victim in a spot where he or she cannot control eating, which will later on gives the feeling of guilt for overeating. Psychological and emotional factors, such as the feeling of depression occurs. This proves the link of emotional eating and depression. According to researchers, there is a straight correlation between compulsive eating and depression. Some argue that depression caused binge eating, as most victims gets worst in binging when they are depressed, stressed out, or if they keep any negative feelings inside. Some says the opposite and blames overeating or binging for being depressed. However, there is no clear explanation as to whether binge eating leads to depression, or depression stimulates binge eating. In the United States alone, binge eating disorder, or BED, is affecting 3.5% of females and 2% of males and 30% of those seeking to lose weight. In a recent study, researchers investigated the link between binge eating and depression in the early age of adolescence. A soaring 1.7% rate found prevalent for eating disorders in teens. Studies showed a great risk for binging for teenage girls when they feel depressed or down in the dumps. Most common reasons are teasing coming from the opposite sex or family members. As for boys, they become less resilient to constant comments about weight from peers and family members. A study also proved that teenage girls have higher risk of having emotional eating and depression than boys. Is it because teen girls face more challenges than boys do? Girls faced in dealing with more than one stressor simultaneously as compared to boys. Some common stressors include: 1. Body image. Girls are more concerned about physical appearance than boys do during adolescence. 2. Transition. Both face changes during puberty, but girls find it more difficult to transition than boys do. Example of which is transitioning to middle school or junior high. 3. Worthlessness. Girls feels less important or less to succeed in life than boys do. Discrimination based on gender and sexual preference in terms of opportunities in life. Their self-esteem is greatly affected, which leads them to feel depressed and overeat. Four. Sexuality. Girls are stuck with the traditional double standard, by which females were judged harshly than males. Teenage girls would shy away from expressing their sexual desires and preferences for the fear of rejection and judgment. Girls are more prone to judge themselves negatively than boys do. Teenage boys, on the other hand, are more vocal in expressing their actions and ideas. When faced with rejection, they become depressed, but they can easily brush off negativity off their shoulders and move on. Binge eating and depression goes hand in hand. Depressive symptoms and negative emotions are to consider in preventing binge eating. Binge eaters are mostly secretive and in denial. Parents, friends, and even doctors should be aware in checking these signs of disordered eating and vice versa. Do you agree with these points? Let us know in the comments section below.